Before I get the video started, I wanted to just take some time to thank every single one of you for all the kind words of support. This video was recorded a few weeks before I started having all these problems, and although it wasn't that long that I was away, I genuinely appreciate all the kind words and support. I was really humbled to see what you guys had to say. I plan on explaining in detail what was actually happening, but for now I don't want to think about it too much, and I'd rather just get back to making videos and talking about what we all love here, which is minimalism and frugal living and things of that nature. So genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much, and let's get started.
It turns out oftentimes there's a more affordable or even free alternative to most things. Things like clothes shopping or even using the library to rent movies for free are just a couple of the examples of things I'm going to touch on in today's video, in a time where going out to eat for 2 people is almost always at least $60 plus tip. It's getting more and more frustrating and impossible to justify it, and encouraging me to take advantage of these free alternatives that are hiding in plain sight. Today I'm going to go over a few of the free or more affordable things I do in place of its more expensive counterpart. But first, if new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. Here we talk about minimalism, frugal living, tech, and things of that nature. So if that sounds good to you, and you end up liking the video, be sure to like, and please take the subscribe button to the thrift store, but then walk them to the aisle where you donated all their items the night before. Let's get started. Also, before I do get started, please keep in mind that these are things that have worked for me personally, so take everything with a grain of salt and just consider how they could best fit into your own routines. Library for books and movies. And I feel like libraries just aren't talked about as much as they really should be. The last time I actually mentioned libraries in one of my videos, I actually had a couple librarians thanking me in the comments for mentioning them. So to the librarians watching this, thank you guys. I'm not sure how it works everywhere, but in my area, and I think most, as long as you're a resident of the county where the library operates, in other words, a taxpayer, you can generally get a free library card to use. And what I learned from my own personal visits to these local libraries, there's a ton of books from almost every genre to choose from. And as a matter of fact, the first time I read Essentialism was by renting it from my local library. And if that wasn't useful enough, there's usually a really solid DVD and CD section there as well. Although rare, I've even seen video games available for free rental at some of these libraries. And on top of all of these things being free, as a minimalist, I love it even more because I still get to use these items without having to commit to keeping them as potential clutter and their return during my next visit and my next rental. Something I wish I had taken advantage of much more often when I was living with my family was just going here as a quiet place to relax and that had internet access. I know it's super easy to hear someone talk about a library and dismiss it as boring, but I highly recommend grabbing a library card and at least visiting it to see if it's something you can make good use out of. I wanted to quickly thank Lark for sponsoring this portion of the video. One frustrating problem I faced when it comes to my water drinking habits is I was never able to keep track of how much I was drinking accurately. The Lark Bottle PureVis 2 makes it easy to track my water intake with its real-time reminders and app insights. And aside from the convenient statistics, my favorite feature is that the PureVis 2 UVC technology purifies my water at the touch of a button, eliminating contaminants like E. coli, salmonella, and making water safer to drink. It also cleans the inner surface of the bottle, so I only have to wash it once a month. And the Narrow Zero filter removes harmful contaminants like pharmaceuticals and chlorine for better tasting water anywhere I decide to fill it. This is the water bottle I've been bringing with me to work because it fits perfectly into my backpack side pocket, and the insulation keeps my water cold for up to 24 hours. There are also small but cool features like having this detachable handle with a wide opening to toss ice cubes in here if I want. Lark helps cut down on single-use plastics. Their essential filter will last you 2 months, which equals 189 plastic bottles. I highly recommend the PureVis 2 water bottle from Lark, so click the link in the description to shop Lark's Black Friday sale from November 14th to December 1st, where you can get 15% off site-wide and 20% off purchases over $130. Thanks again to Lark. Now back to the video. YouTube for entertainment. Way before even making YouTube videos, it was pretty much my main source of entertainment. And in a time where the cost of streaming services are literally going up every single year, I would argue this is one of the best times to only have YouTube as your primary source of entertainment and consumption. I believed this was true even before I started paying for YouTube Premium, but now mathematically, it's making more sense than ever. YouTube Premium right now costs $160 if you pay for the year, which is a little over $13 a month. It of course gets rid of all ads during videos. And even if you do have an ad blocker, this is highly helpful when you're watching YouTube on the TV like we do. But it also includes a decent selection of movies, shows, and most importantly, YouTube Music. I haven't looked at their pricing in some time, but I'm pretty sure a monthly Spotify subscription is around $20. So for a cheaper price, I get a music app in YouTube Music, our living room and video consumption entertainment completely ad-free. And something else that I don't feel like is mentioned too often is being able to play videos in the background while your phone or your device is locked. So in a way, it's kind of like a podcast subscription as well. I gain nothing by preaching how good of a deal YouTube Premium is, and the price will inevitably go up like the price of everything does. But right now in its current state, I feel like it might be one of the best bang for buck deals. And once again, I definitely think this is something you'll have to factor into your own routines. But when we can turn on the TV for a 3-hour lo-fi loop while we're cleaning around the house, completely ad-free, it's just a really nice thing to have. Thrift stores and used clothing apps. Thrifting for used clothes and shopping on the secondhand market via apps has to be one of the best discoveries I've made in terms of saving money. Some of my most worn pieces of clothing were actually purchased secondhand on an app called Depop. My absolute favorite pair of shorts got several years of use before getting destroyed beyond repair. And being that they were discontinued, the only place I was actually able to find a new pair was on the secondhand market on Depop for $10. And they were in nearly perfect unused condition. And if you're a little hesitant to buy clothing secondhand, I can understand where you're coming from. But surprisingly frequently, the clothes on this specific app are often in new condition, with the tag on them still in some cases. And it's really the same deal with going to thrift stores. I think the real beauty of this too is that it can give you access to particular clothing that might be a little bit out of your price range when it comes to clothes spending. And it just makes pricier clothes you might have had your eye on much more accessible. Free places instead of spending. Something that always had me thinking was that how being social with a friend or a group of friends was usually tied to going out to eat or just going somewhere where we all had to spend money. And maybe it was just us, but it usually ended with us standing in front of the restaurant after we were done, not really knowing what to do next. And it's annoying because it really feels like either our cities or thought processes are just designed to associate socializing with spending. And maybe that's partially true, but I've learned that even with the smallest amount of effort, there are a lot of fun things to do that are rather inexpensive or even free. A couple of places we enjoy going now is the park, where we've had fun just sitting around and talking, or playing one of many sports we're all completely terrible at. Or going to our local vendors market called the Green Market, where they sell local foods and such. But going there and just walking around is also completely free. The overall point here that I wanted to get away from the idea that doing things with someone or people has to also mean spending money every single time. And don't get me wrong, it's not like there's even a problem with going out and spending to enjoy yourself every once in a while, but it just doesn't have to be an every time thing with a little bit of effort. Contentment over consumption. Now, this isn't a practical alternative, and it might sound a little profound, but let me explain. In my current most viewed video, I make the statement that shopping has become a hobby for some people, at least here in the US. And since that point seemed to resonate with a lot of people, I feel like this one will as well. Because learning to be content with what I have will almost always be the cheaper alternative in almost every scenario. I know for me, there were periods in my life where I was always looking for the next upgrade, or even sometimes looking around my room to see what can be replaced. And of course, that's embarrassing to admit now, but I don't think I'm alone here. Because now when I look around and see what I have, from my loved ones all the way down to my tech, I know that being content and grateful for those things allows me to enjoy them more and not think about the constant rotation of consumption and decluttering. Of course, there will always be a time to declutter and upgrade certain things that I own, but being aware that things are just things has allowed me to not spend as much, and most importantly, live a much more minimal and intentional life. That really felt like a poetic ending to one of the videos in the early days of this channel, and it felt really nice. I'm always going to be looking for relevant things that I can fit into my own personal routine. So if you guys have some cheaper or free alternatives that you feel like you want to mention, please leave it down in the comments because I'm always looking and I would greatly appreciate it. Anyways, as always, I appreciate the time you spent here and I appreciate you watching. If you did like this video and you like this type of content, be sure to like and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you next time.